No one expected Jimin to cry that night. But what exactly did Jungkook do at Calvin Klein's Fashion Week 2025 runway in the United States that forced his longtime friend into silent tears? The world of fashion is known for its ruthless perfection, its obsession with idealization, and its hunger for spectacle. But on the evening when Jungkook walked the Calvin Klein runway in New York City, the spectacle that stunned industry veterans was not orchestrated by marketing strategists or lighting technicians. It arrived unannounced in the form of a man whose physical presence sent waves of disbelief across the entire venue. Why did it move Jimin to tears? As the dark SUV slid to a halt near the Calvin Klein installation in Soho, no one saw his face through the frosted glass. Rumors buzzed among stylists, editors, and cultural critics in attendance. Was he here merely as a guest or as the night's unexpected revelation? When he emerged wearing a custom, oversized wool coat, raw-cut denim ensemble, and distressed leather boots that scraped the runway floor with deliberate gravity, the air collapsed into a suffocating silence. Why did that silence feel more powerful than any applause? Jungkook's tattoos, so often blurred in commercial campaigns, glistened under direct spotlights, unapologetic, unveiled, and unsettling. They were no longer hidden for global market comfort. They were exposed, honored, and recontextualized as the visual thesis of the collection titled Uncovered. And among those present sat Jimin, who leaned forward with trembling lips, whispering to a colleague in shock, "I never knew he could look this powerful." What makes a man cry at the sight of his own friend? That question spread across boardrooms, social media commentaries, and cultural think pieces within minutes. Because what stood on the Calvin Klein runway that evening was neither a K-pop idol nor a brand ambassador nor a commercialized myth. It was an embodiment of radical presence, a redefinition of Asian masculinity that refused the comfort of marketable perfection. Is this what masculinity should look like now? Unfiltered, wounded, undefeated. The entire campaign was silent yet seismic. No choreographed dance, no digital screens flashing his name, no music to build artificial tension. Only Jungkook's silent arrival as he fixed the collar of his coat with visibly shaking hands. The tremor was not edited out in live broadcasts. That brief moment of unguarded vulnerability destroyed every preconceived idea of a Calvin Klein show being a mere presentation of garments. For the first time, it became a psychological mirror for a generation gasping for authenticity. Jimin, who sat through countless BTS performances, music video shoots, and global stage debuts with Jungkook, found himself overwhelmed. His tears were not theatrical. They were tears of recognition. Because the man walking that runway was not just Jungkook the performer, but Jungkook the human, raw, unhidden, unprotected by performance persona. Is that what true strength looks like? Not dominance, but exposure? What struck editors the most was the absence of the Calvin Klein logo in teaser visuals released hours before the show. Only fragments of denim, flashes of skin, and his own narrating voice were featured, whispering phrases like, "I was never meant to be just one thing." No music, no brand slogans. It was a deliberate removal of all external identities, leaving the naked essence of a man who has been dissected and consumed by the public eye since he was 15. Why did Calvin Klein risk its pristine branding for such a vulnerable manifesto? Industry insiders revealed that this runway appearance is merely the threshold to an unprecedented visual series, potentially an episodic documentary voiced by Jungkook himself. Each episode is rumored to unpack different facets of his existence, from fame to body art, from masculinity to psychological identity. If confirmed, this would not be Calvin Klein's most polished campaign, but its most daring and culturally disruptive. Did they realize that featuring him not as an idol, but as an unprotected man would become their most powerful message? Throughout the show, his expression never flirted with the camera. There was no playful brand seduction, only calm confrontation. His eyes did not say, "Buy this jacket." They asked, "Do you still love me if I show you everything?" And that unspoken question left even the most jaded fashion editors breathless. because it was no longer about fashion, but about memory, body, trauma, and survival. Jimin's tears, seen by those seated near him, rolled down silently as he covered his mouth with his trembling fingers. Observers described his shoulders shaking slightly as Jungkook walked past him without breaking eye contact with the front cameras. Was it grief? Was it pride? Was it the unbearable clarity of seeing a friend strip himself of every defense he had built for global consumption? Calvin Klein's gamble has now been described as a cultural reckoning rather than a campaign. Scholars of masculinity studies and Asian identity politics are analyzing its impact, calling it a direct disruption of Western male beauty hegemony. Critics agree this is not simply a new page in the brand's legacy, but an entire rewriting of its manifesto. Because what Jungkook brought to the runway was not just a garment narrative, but a moral provocation. What are men if not their hidden scars, unspoken memories, and repressed vulnerabilities? As media theorists decode the subtext, it becomes clear that Jungkook's walk was never about denim, wool, or distressed leather boots. It was about refusing to remain an edited icon. His visible tremble as he adjusted his coat collar told every man watching that real strength is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of walking through it while shaking. Is the world ready for a masculinity that bleeds, cries, and refuses to be packaged into a hashtag aesthetic? Is the fashion industry prepared to abandon polished illusions for living truths? These questions continue to ricochet across digital spaces and editorial meetings worldwide. Because when Jimin, a man who has shared the harshest and brightest stages with Jungkook, breaks down in tears, what hope does the rest of the world have to remain indifferent? What Jungkook delivered at Calvin Klein USA Fashion Week 2025 was not a runway appearance. It was a reckoning, a reminder that beauty without scars is merely a pleasant lie. His final runway shot, captured from behind with his tattooed back glistening with sweat, showed an unedited bruise near his shoulder blade. The caption read, "Do you still love me if I show you everything?" And it was not rhetorical. It was a challenge, an invitation, a moral confrontation. Calvin Klein, a brand built upon minimalism and sexual provocation, chose for the first time to center absolute intimacy, discomfort, and self-liberation. And Jungkook, standing amidst this cultural hurricane, was not a model. He was a phenomenon, a quiet apocalypse dressed in denim, forcing the world to confront every assumption about Asian men, masculinity, vulnerability, and beauty. There was no press release after the show, no post-event interviews, no brand promotion bombardment, only silence, because in that silence lay an answer louder than any marketing slogan. What is coming next is unknown, but it is clear that whatever it is will not merely change the game. It will redefine it entirely, because when Jimin cries, the world listens. And when Jungkook walks in silent tremor, the world is forced to rethink everything it ever thought about men, fame, beauty, and strength. The question is no longer whether Jungkook is the future of masculinity. It is whether the world is ready for a masculinity that no longer seeks permission to exist in its most vulnerable, unedited, trembling truth. No one expected Jimin to cry that night. As Jungkook walked the Calvin Klein Fashion Week 2025 runway in New York, the world saw neither an idol nor a brand ambassador, but a raw presence that shattered perceptions. His tattoos were no longer blurred, they were honored under harsh lights. Wearing an oversized wool coat and distressed denim, his silent trembling as he adjusted his collar revealed strength that was not dominance, but exposure. Jimin, who has shared years on stage with Jungkook, was seen wiping silent tears, whispering, "I never knew he could look this powerful."